don't it? Yay, West on the check-in. Yeah. You send me somewhere. Right about now, ladies and gentlemen, you should be in your car turning it up past 10. And not just mine. It's the abstract and the dragon. He keeps Busta Rhymes. And yours truly.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the final round of me, Black Gatsby. It's been a crazy week in regards to what is coming and what has already passed as well, so we'll just jump straight into it. I'll start off with David Haye. He's announced a return for January the 16th against Mark Demori at the O2 Centre in London. For me, the whole thing's a complete non-event. Demori's followed me on Twitter since like 2010, and he's a nice guy. He looks the part, like he looks a proper bodybuilder, but in the same breath, I've never seen him fight anyone of note. It seems to be that he fights a lot of plumbers and builders and that kind of thing. He comes, like I see him talking a lot about being in places like Croatia and Australia, and perhaps that's just for training, but in terms of everything else, I just don't think it's an event. He's if you look at his record, it might look impressive, but then you have to look at deeper and think who he actually fought. And I think David Haye should win that fight. If he doesn't win that fight, then it lets you know everything you need to know about David Haye's comeback. He's taken a lot of time out. Last fought against Derek Chisora. I can't remember what year it was. It was at Upton Park. I was there with my brother actually. But yeah, he hasn't fought since then. Blown off a couple fights with Fury and was it Vach? I can't remember who the other person was. He blown out a couple fights. Then he had the shoulder problem. He's back now. Could be an interesting addition to the heavyweight division, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not going to be judging him on this Demori fight if it actually takes place, given the fact that he's skipped out in his last few fights. But yeah, David Haye's back. But then we'll go back now to this weekend's fights. Cotto versus Canelo. Oscar De La Hoya talked up this fight massively, talking about it's going to wash away the nasty taste left in the mouth from Mayweather Pacquiao, and I feel it didn't actually do that. Everybody spoke about Cotto, about Mayweather Pacquiao being a boring fight, and I don't think Cotto Canelo was that much better. It was interesting in the sense that it was very cat and mouse. Cotto fought on the back foot, going backwards. Canelo was landing harder punches, and you just thought, at what point will Canelo catch up with him? There was a point in maybe round 6 or 7, where Cotto slowed down and he stood and traded, and he looked like he got hurt. And I was thinking, just get back on the back foot, keep boxing beautifully, kind of thing. He was landing his jab at will, but for me, he never landed anything that made me think this is hurt Canelo or this is going to deter Canelo. Canelo just kept on coming forward. And some of the boxing did somewhat confuse him, but in the same breath, he never looked like he was in any problem. So when the decision came through that Canelo had won, I wasn't shocked, but I was more shocked by the scorecards. They were very, very wide. And for me, far off the mark. The fight was a lot closer than the scorecards denoted, but Cotto doesn't help himself. He does this constantly. He just walks out of the ring when he feels that he's been robbed or he's been bumped. He just walks out of the ring and says, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna go." And he done that against Canelo. And then he took to radio in Puerto Rico and a couple other places saying that he thought he won those fights. And Freddie Roach said he thought he won those fights. And I'm a massive Cotto fan. Been to him fight before, met him as well. Proper nice guy. Massive fan of his, but I don't think he won that fight. And I think in his heart of hearts he knows he didn't win that fight. Perhaps it's best for him to go back down to 154 instead of campaigning at 160 and making people come down and fight in that weight. There's a lot of options for him at 154 as well. He can probably win another strap down there as well. For Canelo, I think it was all bluster and bravado when he said, "I'll fight Golovkin now. Put the gloves on." And he's not really on it like that. I think the adrenaline got the better of him, because when he realises what he said, he's going to come with some excuse. I remember before he said that he won't fight him at 160, which doesn't make sense given the fact it will be for the middleweight title. The two have fought before, well, not fought, they've sparred before, and as far as I know, Canelo's got the worst of it. Golovkin is naturally, well, he looks naturally bigger, but saying that Canelo tends to come into the ring at around 180 pounds on fight night, which is probably a small cruiserweight, which is crazy for him to then turn around and say he's not making 160, given that he's never fought, but saying that he's never fought at that weight before. A lot of people are saying that Canelo's the star, he's the attraction, so Golovkin should drop down and wait to fight him the same way Canelo had to drop down and wait to fight Mayweather, perhaps. But let's not make it out that there's a massive disparity between the two. A lot A lot of people coming to see Golovkin now. Obviously, he was in the Apple and Watch advert. His profile is rising, and because he keeps putting on good shows and he fights and he does that whole Mexican style thing where he comes to fight. He's not fighting just to be in the ring. He's fighting to stop people. He's fighting to hurt people. His star is rising. So Canelo does have the star. He does have the pull in the whole thing, but Golovkin isn't a nobody. The same way Canelo wasn't a nobody when he fought Mayweather, of course. But I think that given how I saw Canelo perform on Saturday, if he was to fight, let's say, the Golovkin that fought Lemieux, he'd get killed. I think just in general, Golovkin has more. He has too much for Canelo. Canelo every so often looks decent, but it's about who he looks decent against. Do you know what I mean? He's looked good against James Kirkland, but you would never get that kind of fight out of Golovkin. Golovkin's a lot more intelligent. He's a better puncher than Kirkland, and he's a better fighter than Kirkland as well. So I just think Golovkin is just too much for Canelo. I think Canelo probably knows that himself, and he's trying to hold off, or he's trying to get every advantage he can in terms of making that fight, in terms of like dropping weight and that sort of thing. Oscar De La Hoya, Canelo's promoter himself, probably knows that as well. And speaking in the post-fight conference after Cotto Canelo, when asked about him, he basically said that, yeah, Golovkin's an option, but we have our options as well, which is mad given the fact he talked up so much, we're going to fight Golovkin and we're going to make these exciting fights that people wanted to see rather than ducking people, which he basically threw Mayweather under the bus for, saying he ducked people. So it's a weird one, but yeah, Golovkin over Canelo, given what we saw on Saturday and given what we've seen so far from both of their careers. Prior to that, we saw Guillermo Rigondeaux fight in what was a snooze fest. Almost sent me to sleep. Almost made me miss the Cotto fight. So I'm very pissed off at him for that as well. I look at Rigondeaux and he's probably the most skilled fighter that's boxing today. Better than Cotto, more skilled than Lomachenko, more skilled than probably Vlad. All these Olympians that have come before him, and you just get the impression that he goes through the motions. He doesn't really feel like, I'm here to entertain. I'm just going to come. I'm going to do what I need to do to win and go home. And like, he's a defensive master. You see videos of him in the ring training, not getting hit. Probably looks like he's the kind of fighter that can get in the shower without get in and out of the shower without getting wet. But sometimes you have to take a risk. There's no reason, because you're a defensive fighter, that you can't be exciting as well. And you feel like Rigondeaux's level is so high, it's so much better than everybody else's, that he could get into the ring, still do his defensive thing, and still win fights. Like, obviously, his fight prior to the one that took place on Saturday, he got dropped, I think it was 3 times over in Japan. And perhaps that's put something into him that makes him think, perhaps I don't want to get hit anymore and that kind of thing. But no one said you have to get hit. Look at Pernell Whitaker. He was an exciting defensive fighter. Couldn't land a glove on him, but he still made fights exciting, given how he fought. Whereas Rigondeaux just like, I'm going here, I'll win this fight, I'll go home. Doesn't really say much. Come back again next time, do the exact same thing. And it gets boring for people. It gets boring for fighters as well. And I just feel like people don't want to see him. Before, there's a lot of excitement about him because of his high skill level, but now people are turning off from him. And I think, given his promotional position as well, that's not what he wants. He needs to be in big fights. Obviously, he just signed something with Rock Nation, and they will be able to get him fights, but will they be getting fights that make him money? Will they be getting him fights that people actually care about? So he needs to do, it's more something to do with him than anyone else in terms of picking himself up and making himself watchable. They're talking about super fights and with people all in weights around him. And when you hear about the Quiggs and your Framptons, you got your Walters, you got your Lomachenkos, these are the people that are in and around his weight class, and these are people he could be fighting instead of fighting nobodies. And will he fight these guys? And you pretty much would pick him to beat these guys as well. But will he make for entertaining fights? Because these are super fights that we're talking about in terms of his weight class and who's in and around him. But will we have another, let's say, Mayweather Pacquiao on our hands where people think they're going to be good fights and end up being turned off? Like, I think boxing purists might enjoy it, and even some boxing purists don't. A lot of boxing journalists are very much against Rigondeaux. So the casual fan will probably be like, you know what, forget this guy, I'm never going to watch him again. So he needs to sort himself out. But yeah, also on Saturday we had Anthony Crolla fighting Darlis Perez, and he impressively won by stoppage. I think it was in the 5th round on a body shot. I was impressed simply because I thought Darlis Perez would probably come back, figure out the mistakes he made in that first fight that made the fight so close, and rectify them, which would make it for a more entertaining fight. But the fight, I wouldn't say it wasn't entertaining, but it was nothing of note until Connor broke him down with the body shot, started taking over and broke him down with the body shot. Crawler's that fairy tale story. Everybody likes him. He's been all over TV since winning. He's been on Sky Sports, been on Talk Sport, been everywhere. And basically, he's one of those guys that people want to see succeed. I said it before. Him getting ripped last time didn't make any sense because he's one of Matchroom's few likable, not so much likable, but he's a nice guy on the Matchroom thing. So when you see a lot of fighters on Matchroom, their opponents get ripped off. To see him, one of their likable fighters, getting ripped off, people were kind of pissed off. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. The win now sets up all English, all Mancunian £135 clash with Terry Flanagan. And it's also interesting as well because One Sports United and One Sports City, Flanagan's fighting Derry Matthews on February 13th, I think it is. So if he comes through that, then the logical fight would be to make Crawler versus Flanagan. But yeah, should be a good one. You look at Martin Murray as well, who fought over in Germany against Arthur Abraham. Proper disappointed with him because I don't feel he did anywhere near enough to win that title. He had Abraham hurt at one point as well, but didn't capitalise on it. And to be fair, Abraham's a holder. He'll grab you. He's very defensive. His defense is very hard to penetrate. It's annoying, but you'll have to see it. Do you know what I mean? I think you know what you have to do when you go over there. I mean, it's annoying because a couple of our fighters have gone over there and haven't done enough. Some of our fighters have gone over there and been ripped off as well. And do you know what I mean? I would have thought Murray would have fought a lot harder, given that he's been in with Golovkin. He's done bits and pieces in and around. Do you know what I mean? He had a tough fight with Sergio Martinez, and I feel like he put in better performances against others. Whereas this was a very winnable fight for him. I think a lot of people didn't really give him a chance against Golovkin. Didn't really fancy him against Sergio Martinez, given the level of Sergio Martinez. But this was a very winnable fight for him, given the opposition. I don't really rate Abraham at all. And he went there and he didn't really do enough. So it's proper disappointing for him. He'll probably get another chance to come again. But right now, it's like you go to the world how many times you don't win the world title, how many times you're going to keep going back. We'll look forward to this week now. You've got to look into James DeGale. It's very under the radar that he's fighting Lucien Bute over in Canada. It's going to be a tough one. I don't think many fighters... It's like, I wouldn't say it's as bad as Germany, but I don't think many fighters fancy going over there. I think a lot of people remember Bute versus Librado Andrade, where Marlon B. Wright basically robbed Andrade. Obviously, Andrade had him hurt, ready to get him out of there. And Marlon B. Wright, the referee, basically gave Bute enough time to recover in order for the fight to finish and Andrade to get the decision. Obviously, Bute knocked him out in a rematch with a body shot, I think it was. But I remember he knocked him out. And I know Canada's a weird place for DeGale. DeGale's done a lot of travelling. Obviously, he had to travel to win his title. He's travelling now on his first defence as well. But, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. I would pick DeGale to win. I don't think Bute has looked great since losing to Carl Froch, but he's still not going to be any walkover. He still carries power, as we saw with his knockouts against Edison Miranda. His knockouts against, against Librado Andrade. So, yeah, he's not going to be... I think he won his last fight by knockout as well. It wasn't anyone of note. I can't remember the fella's name. It wasn't anyone of note. But I remember after that fight, he was saying, I'm back. And to me, he didn't denote that you were back. He didn't really fight anyone of note. And I think since Froch as well, he's kind of avoided fighting up. I think he fought John Pascal, which wasn't a great fight, but he lost that fight as well. So he hasn't really fought anyone of note since that fight, but since losing to Froch. But I don't know. I would fancy DeGale to win, but I think DeGale now, given that he fought on Channel 5 in front of millions, he needs, I wouldn't say a push, but he needs to develop his fan base because he doesn't really need to be travelling all these places, travelling to Boston and travelling to Canada to be fighting for his title. He should be fighting at home, especially in his first title defence. That's a no-brainer. He should be fighting at home with his to defend his title. But if he beats Bute, it's another name on his record, and I think it adds credibility to his title reign as well. But you just look at what he's going to do after he fights Bute. I think DeGale is a very good fighter, a very skilled fighter, and he has options, especially at 168. Obviously, Froch has toyed with the idea of coming back. I doubt he will, but there's still a lot of options, especially domestically as well as on the world stage as well. So, a win over Bute on Saturday should put him right in the mix. I'm going to finish off with the big one that's taking place on Saturday: Tyson Fury versus Vladimir Klitschko, or should I be Vladimir Klitschko versus Tyson Fury? Fury has spent a ton of time trying to wind up Vlad. I said last week I wasn't sure if I was going to do one, simply because we don't know what's happening and with the pressers. But this week's presser has been exactly the same as we thought we were going to see. He's been set winding Vlad up. And to be fair, Vlad has held his nerves, not really got drawn into it. I see him talk about Tyson. I see him talking, saying how Tyson Fury is actually a good singer. I still stand by what I said. Tyson Fury is bigger, younger, and stronger. Vlad is the master. So I wouldn't look past Vlad, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tyson Fury won as well. I had said before that Fury is fighting Vlad at the right time. He's old, his focus might be gone, but from what I've seen, I've watched a fair bit of clips, been watching him training, just been watching him in general, and I feel like Vlad is a little bit more focused than I gave him credit for. But I don't know. A lot of Fury, what he's done, has it got to Vlad's head? Has he wound him up? We'll find that in the ring. Obviously, Derek Chisora did a bit against Vitaly, and we've seen you can try and wind up Klitschko brothers, but they're very cool characters. It didn't work for Derek Chisora. Perhaps it won't work for Tyson Fury either. Perhaps it will. We'll find that in the ring. I just feel like, again, Fury is catching him at the right time. I still won't bet against Vlad. I still think Vlad's the master, beautiful boxer. I think a lot of people find him boring, but in the same breath, it depends what you're watching him to see. He does score knockouts. He scores quite a few knockouts, but I think it's the way and the manner in which he gets to those knockouts. He's very methodical and mechanical, and I think that turns a lot of people off. He's not all action and throwing swift combinations the way Tyson did, because Tyson seems to be the standard bearer for a lot of casual fans and even some purists as well. But he doesn't put his combinations to punches together like that with the speed that Tyson does. But I still think his jab is one of the best in the game, if not the best in the game. And the way he sets it up, uses it for defense and offense, should be key to how the fight goes on Saturday. Will he be able to establish that jab against Tyson Fury, who's bigger, perhaps has longer arms as well? If he can establish that jab, I think it's all over for Fury. Fury probably will look to beat his unorthodox, crazy self. I expect to see him go southpaw at some point. He's done it before to throw fighters off. He did it to throw off Derek Chisora. And it wouldn't be a massive surprise to me if he did against Vlad as well. But I don't know. Vlad's still the master for me. I'm expecting him to win, but wouldn't be surprised if Fury did. So that's it for today's show. I'm going to be back next week anyway to discuss both the Tyson Fury Klitschko fight as well as James DeGale's how he fared in Canada. So be sure to send us your messages at BTW Online, at Black Gatsby, or tweet Yannick. I don't know what his at is. He just changes it so often. I'm confused. I'm not going to lie to you. But yeah, get in contact and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. This is going to be on our SoundCloud or our Mixcloud as well as our YouTube. So subscribe to find pods and videos on other stuff as well. We don't just do boxing, we do soccer, football, we do American football, basketball, everything. So yeah, keep in contact, get in contact with us. Thanks for listening.